Katia, thanks for joining me today. I'm really excited because I have a card video for you that features some of the newest Simon Says Stamp STAMPtember release products. And these products are both from Pretty Pink Posh and Studio Katia. I'm going to be showing you how I created this card using both of those exclusives. So this card features the gorgeous florals from Studio Katia's STAMPtember exclusive. And then it also features this beautiful sentiment from the Pretty Pink Posh set, as well as, if you look closely, you'll see some damask patterns along the edges of both the front and the back of this envelope. And that's how I used both sets in this card. So we have a beautiful coordinating envelope that matches really nicely with this card design. So why don't we head on over to my desk. I'll show you how I did the no line coloring. I used a few other Studio Katia products to create the nice frames and also those little embellishments. So why don't we head on over there and see these stamp sets in action and see how I created this card. So here's a close-up look at the stamp set. This stamp set, by the way, is called Blooming Trio, and these flowers, like I said, are so beautiful. And there's also some really great sentiments in this set, though I haven't used them in my card today. I'm going to be pairing this with one of the new Studio Katia die sets. I really love that gorgeous frame in there, and we'll be using quite a few of the dies from that set. And then here's a look at the Pretty Pink Posh stamp set that was created for STAMPtember, and this is a really beautiful damask set. So I already went and die cut that frame die from the Studio Katia die set into some cream cardstock. And I'm going to be stamping onto the cream cardstock using some Barely Beige ink from Simon Says Stamp. And now the reason I've chose the Barely Beige ink is because I want to do some no-line coloring. And Barely Beige ink stamps really very faint and doesn't show up too much when you've gone ahead and done your no-line coloring. Now, also with that Barely Beige ink, it stamps super light. So I find that using my Misty tool and stamping it about 3 times, I get the best impression. So that's what I did here, is I got a darker impression of that Barely Beige ink, and it's not going to show up underneath my coloring, but it's going to be dark enough that I can actually see it and not have to have too much trouble as I'm coloring. Now, speaking of coloring, I used my Copic markers to color in this image and do the no-line coloring. For the leaves, I used a variety of greens and blue-green markers, and I've mixed them together as I colored to create some variations and different tones in the leaves. I thought this would make the leaves feel a little bit more realistic and give them that nature feel. They're going to look a little bit more variegated than just a perfect gradation of color. And I really liked how that turned out. So as I'm using these markers here, I'm flicking color down from the darkest area and then blending that into lighter tones. So you can see I colored in all of the leaves. I did them all in the exact same way. I just kind of changed up which colors I used on each leaf, but I used the exact same colors from those different blue, greens, and greens. I used all of those colors on all of these leaves. I'm drawing in some of the stems with an E15 marker. I really liked the warmness of this brown. Then for the flowers, I used about 3 shades per flower to shade in these really beautiful petals. For the yellow, I used a couple of darker yellows and then blended that out into the cream of the cardstock using a really faint yellow. It was YR30. And if you're interested in any of the colors that I used to color in these images, I do have those listed over at my blog, so you can head on over there to check that out. As I color in the images, I'm making sure to leave highlights. So the color of the paper, making sure I leave that at the tips of each petal, because that's going to help the petals feel a little bit more realistic. Now, the reason I chose the cream cardstock underneath of all of my coloring is because I wanted a little bit more of a softer vintagey feel. I didn't want it to be stark white. So that's why you're seeing me use that cream cardstock, and you're seeing that cream color of the paper show up really nicely at the tip of all of these flowers. For the purple, I used some V90 family markers, and I did fade all of that out with a V000 marker. And that V000 marker has a little bit of a pinkish tone to it, so you can see that kind of peeking through the flower. Finally, I colored the pink flower with some R30 markers. I used R32 for the darkest color and then blended that out with R30 and R00. And then I think I even used a 000 to really fade that out on the very tips of all of these flowers. But again, I'm making sure I leave the highlight of the paper showing at the tip of every petal.
Once I colored in all of my flowers, you can see that they're really starting to take shape, and we have a really realistic coloring on all of these flowers. Now, the reason I die cut this panel, and now you're seeing me actually cut those flowers out, is because I wanted the edge of my flowers to have that little scallop edge to them, because I'm going to have this coming off the edge of another piece of cardstock cut with this same Studio Katia die, and I wanted the edges to match. And that's why you see my flowers are stamped off the edge of the paper, and they also have that scalloped edge on there because I wanted it all to be continuous. So here's that other piece of cream cardstock that I die cut with the Studio Katia die. Now I'm taking a piece of ivory and using a wrapped stitches die from Memory Box, and also that little scallop circle piece from the Studio Katia die set. And I've die cut both of those with the ivory cardstock, which is going to get layered on top of the cream cardstock that you see here. This is where the flowers are going to match up with that cream cardstock. As I line this up here along the side, you can see it blends right in, and it really looks nice. Doing that extra bit of detail really makes a huge difference in the finished card. So I've added some foam tape to the back side of that ivory piece, and I'm going to stack that up on top of the cream colored scallop panel. After I've attached that down, I'm then also adding some more foam tape on the back side of my flowers and adhering those along the edge, again matching that up with the scalloped edges of the panel underneath. Now there's also a banner included in that Studio Katia set, but I wanted it to be longer so I could fit the Pretty Pink Posh Damask sentiments into it. So I'm taking that banner and I'm only going to partially die cut it, so that edge that's hanging out of the cutting pad is not going to cut. I'm going to realign that die, this time bringing it down further so that way I can cut a very long banner from this same die, and it has the same shape, it's just a little bit longer. Now because I don't want the banner to cut into it, I need to make sure I line up my cutting pad so it does not cut the banner part and instead just the other end of that die. Once I've run this through, you'll see I have a much longer banner, and this will fit that congratulations sentiment on here perfectly. Now the reason I'm choosing a congratulations theme is because I am so thrilled that my best friend, Ellen Haxelmans, she actually just came to visit me. She and I have been friends for a very long time on Skype and just by being on different designs teams together. And I met her and Davey, her boyfriend, and recently found out after they left visiting me and went on to California that Davey ended up proposing to her out at California on the beach. And I was so thrilled to hear that from her. So I decided I wanted to create a congratulations card for both of them, and that's what this card is. So while I was talking, I used some of that blush paper from the My Mind's Eye blush collection. I used a polka dot pattern, and it's just really a variegated pattern underneath all of my pieces here. And I attached my congratulations sentiment on top of that with foam tape. Now Studio Katia also has some beautiful clear drops that are really pretty, and I wanted them to have just a tint of color. So I used some of the Copic markers that I used to color in my flowers to color in the bottoms of each of these little droplets, and that gives them just a tint of color, and it really looks pretty. I attached all of those down with some glossy accents, just a small dot, and that's going to dry clear, so that way it won't show up underneath of my clear droplets. So here's a look at the finished card. It's already looking really pretty, and I'm really loving how it looks, but I wanted to make a matching envelope. So I took a metallic cream envelope from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm using some cotton candy ink and an ink duster brush to create a dipped looking edge to these envelopes. So the edges of the envelope are going to have this pink dipped appearance, and it looks really pretty. So I have that ink blending going along the edges of the envelope flap, the back side, and also this side here on the front. But I also wanted to dress that up a little bit more using the Damask stamps from Pretty Pink Posh and Simon Says Stamp. So I stamped those in the cotton candy ink that I used to do my ink blending, and then put some clear embossing powder on top of that so they have a little bit more of a darker tone and also a little bit of dimension. And I heat set that, and you can see that they have a really pretty shiny appearance. And I put those on both the front and the back of the envelope. So my envelope is now finished and matches up with my card perfectly, and I'm really loving how that these Pretty Pink Posh and Studio Katia STAMPtember sets paired up so well together. So I hope that my friend Ellen and her fiance Davey really loves this card, and I hope maybe she's not watching this video, so hopefully it'll be a surprise when she gets it. But if she doesn't, Ellen, I hope you love the card. Alright, so if you enjoyed this video, I hope you will head on over to my blog to get more information on The 2 sets that I used, which are exclusive to STAMPtember, once they sell out, they will be gone. And then I also hope you will head on over to my blog to see more information on this card, including still pictures and products used, as well as the Copic colors that I used for the coloring. Thanks again for watching. I will see you again very soon in another video. And until then, have a great day. Bye!